Welcome back to the Esoteric Eric Roberts podcast.
Huzzah!
Hello, Roy.
Hello, ED.
Nice to have you back.
Nice to be here today to talk about a movie I picked, 1996's summer blockbuster hit, Heaven's Prisoners.
Yeah, Heaven's Prisoners, starring Alec Baldwin.
Yes, and several other semi-notables.
Yeah, Kelly Lynch.
Kelly Lynch, you've got Terry Hatcher.
You got Mary Stuart Masterson in there.
Yes, the neighbor dad from That 70s Show, Bob.
We got Dawn Stark as ELK.
Yes, there was also the mom from Alf.
Whoa, I missed that one.
In a strange one scene as like a barfly, as a New Orleans barfly.
Whoa.
And she looks all like really skinny, like she's playing kind of a drugged out, like kind of a hard living character. And I was like, who is that lady? And it was the mom from Alf.
Today on the Esoteric Roberts podcast, we'll be talking about the movie Heaven's Prisoners, starring the mom from Alf.
Oh, you know, who else is this? Vondi Curtis Hall and Joe Vitarelli. Did you say him?
Not yet.
Okay, there's a guy who looks like Sid Haig. That might be it. Oh, and Eric Roberts, who gets the and credit.
Eric Roberts with another and credit.
Yeah, just like in The Specialist. And more or less, I would say probably playing the same role as The Specialist.
Yeah, and it turns out it was shot right around the same time.
And I was thinking that if he shot this one the same time or before, maybe like that's why the second half of his performance is so toned, or like why his performance isn't as crazy as we thought it might be in The Specialist, because here I felt like he really goes for it.
Yeah, me too.
In a way that he only did in the party scene, and a couple, like when he was hanging out with the Roy Scheider in the Greaseballs, he went for it in the way he really didn't with hanging out with Sharon Stone.
So Eric Roberts is kicking around down in the South here in the early to mid 90s, shooting
Yes.
a couple different movies.
Miami, Nolans.
Yeah.
And we will, I guess that another movie I haven't seen that we should maybe do on one of these is Final Analysis. Is he in that? I think he's in that and apparently plays a very similar role in that. Then that was Phil Jeannot, the director of this, if that's how you say his name's previous movie.
Yeah. So I guess this was a movie that Alec Baldwin was attached to, and on Kim Basinger's recommendation, he chose Jeannot to direct Heaven's Prisoners.
Oh, was she in Final Analysis? Yeah, she's
Yes.
the girl on the cover with Richard Gere.
I didn't know that Roberts was in Final Analysis.
Me neither. That was news to me.
Nice.
You had not seen this movie, right?
No. Had you?
I had seen it for the first time very recently, and I picked it because, I don't know, I just wanted to share the movie with you.
I'm glad you did,
for some
Roy.
unknown reason.
No. Your instincts were correct because I enjoyed the movie. I watched it twice.
Nice.
So it's based on a crime thriller, which I think was a bestseller.
It's the second in a series of novels by a man named James Burke. James Lee Burke.
Right.
And it's like he has one from like 2020 in the same series of Dave Robichaux detective.
Yeah, the Dave
novels.
Robichaux saga
As we
ongoing.
meet, yeah, then like I guess they're a big deal. And he has another series that has many novels. I've never heard of him.
So in the film, let's try and run through the plot, Roy.
Okay.
So the film starts off
In a confessional.
with Dave Robichaux in a confessional booth, and we learn that he's a recovering alcoholic.
With a skunk streak in his hair.
Yeah, they never really explain the skunk streak.
No.
It's a pretty odd choice.
Yeah.
But it's there. Yeah, we find out that Dave Robichaux is a retired police detective who's living outside of New Orleans in the bayou with his wife Annie, played by Kelly Lynch.
Yes. And
Or as
that
I
he
like to call her,
wants booze badly. Is what he tells this priest.
Yep.
That he loves booze and he just thinks about it all the time and he wants it so badly.
Did the movie make you want to drink some alcohol?
Not really.
Yeah. It made me want to drink alcohol when I watched it. It's so damn humid throughout the thing.
It made me want to paint, which we'll get to why later. Though I don't
Yeah.
paint. I don't know how.
So Dave Robichaux he has a boat. He's out on the bayou or out on the lake with his wife.
Yeah.
And they're having a nice romantic moment, and then they see an airplane coming.
And Kelly Lynch, okay, go ahead, sorry. He says, it's a plane, or there's a plane. And she says, so, and he's like, no, this one's something. I
Yeah.
forget. And then it's
There's
like
something wrong with this one.
crashes on him with like maybe one shot of CG, or maybe it's all I don't know. That was a interesting mix of effects there.
Yeah, we have a crazy Frankenstein of weird visual effects going on with this plane crashing into the lake, which made me take pause.
I like the classic. It's got to have been in the trailer where they're both duck for the plane going over, and like Alec Baldwin does like a screaming face, and it just looks so distracting and weird.
Yeah, there's a lot of distracting and weird bits in this film.
First off, how did you like Alec Baldwin's Nolan's accent?
I thought it was kind of cool.
I thought it sucked.
It did. It made me think about Steven Seagal.
It was up and down, but
yeah,
like it's better in some scenes than others. Acting is hard in a movie when you're in a bunch of scenes. If you have an accent, keeping it straight for all those scenes with all those directions and stop and go, and is the take where the camera's right, one where you got the accent right. You know, 1,000 things can go wrong with that. And I feel like some scenes he's okay, but a lot of scenes, like in this, especially on this boat scene, is why I brought it up now, is because it was really bad. I thought here he was doing a weird mawkish Boston accent, like where he's like going with a here kind of thing. Like I don't know, and maybe that's just because he is from that area, which is like kind of Alec Baldwin. I think is a great actor for doing different emotions and tones, but I think he always comes off as a well-to-do guy from Boston.
Yeah, I get that from him, but I base like
how I feel like he can sail.
Yeah. I feel like he can fill out a shirt.
Sure.
The accent, I guess I just had a lot of fun. I watched the second time I watched it with my girlfriend.
Nice.
So I had a lot of fun doing the Dave Roba show throughout.
It's a good date movie.
You better get a new zip code, brother. Well, so in the story...
Yes, they're on the boat and a plane crash happens above them.
And it's a passenger plane. It's a small plane.
Yeah.
Robichaux throws on some scuba gear and dives down there quickly to assess the damage and finds some floating corpses at the bottom of the lake inside
he is
the
not
wreckage.
the reluctant hero. He goes headlong into this.
He goes straight into danger there. And he finds a few floating bodies, and he finds one survivor who is Salvadorian child, young girl, probably about 5 years old.
Yes.
So
he and his wife immediately decide to keep or something.
Yeah, without much trouble.
Yeah, this movie. There's a bit of credibility was not one of this movie's strong suits.
Yeah, so they easily
She's
adopt
probably
an illegal.
illegal anyway. That's not even a good imitation of Dave Robichaux in this.
It was pretty good, but yeah, they end up with this child,
Baba.
and they. Let's see here. Where are we?
Well, they take her to the nuns, and the nuns come back to him and say, your daughter is, you guys have a wild family, your daughter only speaks Spanish. Mm-hmm. They take her to these nuns for hospital care, I guess.
Yeah, and then just decide to keep her.
Oh, sorry. What is Kelly Lynch's job? What jobs do they hold in this? I forget.
Well, Robichaux and his wife run a boating company. So I think they rent boats. There's a Cuban guy who works for Robichaux named Batiste, who helps
Played
him run
by the inimitable Badger de Jola.
Yeah, he is inimitable.
Whom I want to tell a quick aside from my life. Badger de Jola was probably one of the first actors whose name I knew, maybe, because when I was in 4th grade, we had to read, I don't know if you remember this from school, but you would have reading class, and they would have a thing where everybody would get the script to like some TV movie or something, and you would all read parts from it for a few days.
Whoa, never did that in my school.
Okay, so we did do this in Winding Creek in the same school district as you. We had, you can look up the movie, but there was a movie, like a TV movie about a homeless kid or a kid and a homeless man. There was this Christmas, like a heartwarming Hallmark Christmas movie. And I guess Badger de Jola was the homeless man and Fred Savage was the little boy. And I remember when we read it in class, it would just every day when we'd grab the script, it would say the actors' names next to the part. And it would say Badger de Jola. And that just looked crazy to me as a kid because I was pretty sheltered in a not very diverse community.
So it looks like the film is called Christmas on Division Street.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah. I don't know. Kind of remember that one being on TV.
I also recently saw Badger de Jola in quite a good movie called A Rage in Harlem, directed by one of my favorite actors, Bill Duke.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
That was a fun movie, I thought.
Friend of the pod, Bill Duke.
Yeah.
So old Robichaux and his wife and his and their new child, who they name. Do you remember the name they give the child?
No.
Yeah, it's something real crazy. I can't remember.
Esmeralda?
Alfalfa.
Inez.
Her name is Alifair.
Whoa.
Yeah. And there's a story behind that. I forget. Maybe it was Robichaux's mother, or his wife's mother, or something like that. But well, another thing that Robichaux thinks about constantly, besides booze, is detectiving.
Yes.
He can't give it up.
No, he can't. See, he like that's what I was thinking about. It's like, yeah, usually in these movies you gotta like, he doesn't want to get back into the case, but it drags him in. And this, he's jumping into the boat, and he's just immediately on this trail. Like, what happens here? What sets him on the trail of investigating things? Because his Cuban or Haitian or whatever guy, he like a Creole guy or something. What kind of guy is that? You said he was
Baptiste?
Cuban was what you said.
Yeah, I don't know. He had a bit of a Cuban accent to me, and Baptiste.
It's New Orleans. It strikes me probably maybe more like a Creole guy or something, right?
Yeah, that makes sense, I guess.
Yeah, if it was in Florida, who
Makes
knows?
a lot of sense the more I think about it.
Oh, also, yeah, remember the beginning where they're on the water? That reminds me of the beginning, and like that shot of them going over the water and the airplane with the opening credits is just every New Orleans set movie has
Yes.
that in it, like Shy
Of that
People
era.
or The Big Easy or shoot, I was thinking of another one, Zandalee. So many, yes.
Yeah.
But noticeably absent from this movie that's in every other New Orleans movie, Zydeco music.
Yeah, no Zydeco music, but there is that kind of a swamp noir kind of sound that was in a bunch of movies there. Like Wild Things had the same kind of soundtrack, like Congos and kind of sinister ambient
Never
tones.
saw Congo. I think I've started it a few times. Never.
Well, I mean Congo drums
Oh, sorry.
in the music. But let's see. Oh, okay. So what kind of sets him off, as you were asking, is old Vondi Curtis Hall, a
Yes.
DEA agent.
It shows up
pays
as a
him
DEA
visit.
agent.
Yeah, and he's asking, I guess he's asking about the child.
Yes,
Right?
he's like, he thought I was going to be immigration, and then he kind of tells Robichaux not to get involved, to just forget about it or something.
Yes.
And that's what I guess makes him think like, oh, there's a mystery here, and I want to solve it. And then he goes through boat wreckage or wreckage of the plane with Badger DeJola.
Mm-hmm.
And they find a swizzle stick from a place called Smiling Jack's, and a shot or a dissolve, I believe, that you pointed out to me from the swizzle stick with letters missing to the sign. And it was pretty nifty.
When he's talking to Vondi Curtis Hall, the DEA agent, they're talking about how many people they pulled out of that airplane. And there's a funny bit where Alec Baldwin is like, "What about the guy in the pink shirt he had a snake tattoo on his chest?" Remember that?
No.
Well, that's kind of what.
Sounds
And
good.
then the agent is like, "There wasn't anybody like that in that, in the wreckage or whatever." So that's kind of what sends him back down there to check it out again.
I
And yes, he
see.
comes back up with the shirt and then the swizzle stick. So yeah, the swizzle stick takes him to this bar, which is
Yes.
an exotic dancer bar.
Yes. Or I guess Mary Stuart Masterson works.
Yes.
And she's a veritable stripper with a heart of gold or something.
Yeah, she's a drunken Southern belle, Southern stripper. I guess that her and Robichaux had some kind of relationship in the past. That's what I got from it.
Yes, that they've had some entanglements, and yeah, that there may be unspoken feelings there, perhaps especially on her part.
So what'd you think about the bartender in this scene?
He was interesting. Like, he looks like a guy that you think you know from a ton of things, and it turns out maybe you don't. This movie this movie was the king of actors you bear. That's why I was saying semi-notable character actors. It's like Badger DeJola is a classic like that guy in the movies that you don't think of. But Joe Vitarelli is a classic like that guy. Like who they're not quite. There's not a lot of like Steve Buscemi level people in this. It's
Yeah,
like
there were a few dead enders there where I was like, "Ooh, I've seen this guy." No, I haven't.
Yes.
As soon as you start to investigate.
Yeah, because the bartender guy seems like he's Kevin Conroy or something, but he's not.
So he's an
Or
actor
Kevin
named Tuck
Conroy.
Milligan,
Whoa.
who's been in a few things, but yeah, he plays a classic sleazy New Orleans guy.
Yes,
bartender guy.
sleazy movie bartender that knows more than he wants to let on and is a basic scumbag.
Yeah, which leads Robichaux further along in his investigation. And so Robichaux keeps poking around, and then what happens is he gets accosted out on the bayou by these two guys. One of them played by Don Stark, a.k.a. Bob Pinciotti from That 70s Show, who has a huge belt buckle that says elk on it.
Ah.
You don't remember the belt buckle?
No, I remember him beating him in the forest, though.
Yeah, so
this kind of this kind of neo noir or any kind of film noir. I love these kind of movies. It's just I think just such the best. Paul Schrader called film noir the best genre of movie, not because it's like so elevated or great, just because it seems the mean movie made in that genre is better than the other movies that exist in the other genres on average. And so just things like this are so delightful. Like the movie where the hero just constantly goes places and gets beat up and shuffled around. Like, yeah, it's just fun for some reason.
It is.
To me.
Noir is the pizza of cinema.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to mess up. You're right. They very, like, especially, there was a period where they have tons of good ones. I mean, you see bad ones, but usually they're at least watchable.
One thing I liked, he gets roughed up pretty bad in this scene. He gets a bottle shattered on his temple, and he gets choked out. He gets a razor put to his ear, but most importantly, Don Stark kicks him directly in the testicles from behind, really hard. And I noticed, this is a big, this is a reoccurring motif in 90s films. The 90s were obsessed, I guess the 80s and the 90s were obsessed with the guys getting kicked in the balls.
Ah.
That kind of tapered off, I think, in the 2000s and beyond. I don't know. I'm sure there's a master cut out there somewhere of just like.
There always was women's defense class, right? Before we had the actual ass-kicking ladies on the reg in the movies. That was always a move ladies would go to as a ball.
The knee, the knee or the foot. Yeah, but Don Stark is no lady.
Fight more. No.
And he gets Robichaux real good in the jewels. And Robichaux takes quite a beating throughout the entire film. I think I already said that.
The classic tradition of noir heroes, like Sean Penn and U-Turn and so many movies.
Yeah.
Jack Nicholson and Chinatown, of course.
So Robichaux's in danger now for poking around too much. And this leads him to an old, I guess it was a classmate that he grew up with.
Yes.
Who's now kind of a local crime guy.
And what was the character's... Yeah, go for it, please.
His name is Bubba Rock.
Hey, Dave.
Would you say that's... would you pronounce it Rock?
That's how they pronounce it in the movie, is Bubba Rock, but it is spelled R-O-C-Q-U-E.
Yeah, it's spelled pretty crazily.
Yeah, it's a funny movie thing.
So here's Eric Roberts. About 40 minutes into the movie, we meet him finally, Bubba Rock.
Oh, yeah, I wanted to say really fast. With that plane, this is a quick backtrack, but I had a note here about Kelly Lynch. She has bad luck on boats, like in that Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Oh, that is her in that film. I hadn't seen her in a while.
Me neither. I think the last thing I can really remember seeing her in is Charlie's Angels.
Yeah, I don't have a big problem with Kelly Lynch, but she always kind of felt like a discount Laura Dern or something.
Kelly Lynch always feels like a model who's acting. Like, she has such striking looks that she almost seems inhuman to me.
Yeah, she's very pretty in this film.
We watched a movie where her breasts rip out. Both of us saw this recently separately, Desperate Hours.
Yeah, that's right.
How'd you like that movie?
I'm trying to remember it. I'm scrambling to remember it. You put me on the spot here.
Yeah, after we watched Pope of Greenwich Village, these movies lead to us watching so many other movies, but we looked up, I think led both of us to watching Desperate Hours.
Oh, no. I did not see it.
Oh, really?
I've had it queued up. Yeah.
Oh, I watched it, and I didn't care for it. I'd started that movie, so that's another one I've started a lot of times and not stuck with.
I will watch it. I will watch all the Chiminos eventually.
Okay, so he goes to Bubba Roque's house, or Rock's. But before he meets Bubba Rock, right, doesn't he meet somebody else out on the veranda? Or is that later?
Oh, yes, he does. Bond girl Terry Hatcher, stark naked.
With a butterfly tattoo on her abdomen.
Yes. So that's our introduction to Terry Hatcher, who plays Claudette from New Iberia.
Pretty little thing, Claudette.
Yeah, I used to work for a guy from New Iberia.
Oh, really?
Yep, in Santa Monica. His name was Chris Decoux.
Nice. That's a nice, Cajun name there.
Yeah, he had a nice little Cajun accent. So we go to Bubba Rock's backyard and find a boxing ring set up out there.
Yes.
And so Eric Roberts is sparring with a guy.
Hitting the bags as usual.
Yeah.
What'd you think?
How would you rate his look?
I think this is one of those things that even when this movie came out, I think it was already looking at Eric Roberts as a shitty actor in some way. And seeing the trailer and his look and stuff, it was another thing that just nailed in the coffin, like, don't watch this movie. But seeing it now, I really liked it. I thought it was a fun turn, and I liked the way that he had the cornrows, and of course he's all like showing off his body as usual. Like, I kind of liked it. I thought it was cool. What did you think?
I thought he was a good villain. There was some classic teeth sucking that went down more than once.
He's definitely he's playing it big, but you want to say what's not like his Mississippi accent, or if he's doing an accent here, I think it's not bad at all. I mean, if it's his natural Southern accent, or if he's adapted it for the movie, I think it sounds pretty good. And I think Eric Roberts might have been my favorite performance in the movie.
I would agree, Roy.
I think he kind of stole this movie.
And he plays, there's some dimension to his character and his relationship with Robichaux.
Yeah, and it's like I kind of, Eric Roberts, I think, like, this is maybe became his, like, he maybe already was kind of his bread and butter, playing like some kind of bonehead pretty boy guy that's grown up and gets in over his head somehow. But he's pretty good at it here. I liked it in this one. He was a fun, like, noir movie character, yeah.
Yeah, I think he really perfects it here. And so, yeah, we are introduced to Bubba and Claudette.
Sorry, we've got some kind of super honking outside. Can you hear that?
Yeah, we can.
You want to wait for that to go off?
Yeah, we can pause for a little bit.
Okay. Yes. Okay.
So Robichaux sits down with Bubba Rock and they start discussing things. I'm having trouble remembering exactly what was going on with this plane. There was some drug smuggling going on.
I guess it doesn't matter, right?
It does not matter.
They
are connected to Bubba.
I wanted to bring up here about we always get sidetracked with these plot descriptions. And I told you before this one, I thought this was going to be a much easier movie to summarize or synopsize than the other movies that we've done, because those movies seem like 80 movies crammed into one. This movie, though, it turns out when I started looking at reviews of it, every single critic pointed out how hard it was to tell you the plot of. Damn, we screwed ourselves again.
Oh, there is a lot of plot, but this one is a little bit more linear.
Yeah, and I don't
stays
think...
on task. I guess all we really need to know is that Robichaux is trying to connect Bubba to this airplane crash that's stirred up a lot of trouble recently.
And does Terry Hatcher come into things in this scene and talk at all?
Yeah, she talks a little bit. She kind of flirts. She's very flirty with Alec Baldwin's character.
Yes, she is. She's flirty with old Robichaux, and she is... an important character in the movie. She's Rock's girlfriend, and she'll become a big figure in the movie. She's the femme fatale.
She likes to drink.
Yes, she does.
She likes to drink gin Rickeys. Now, Roy, you used to be a bartender, so I don't know if you've ever made a gin Rickey before.
Not once in my life.
I did look up the recipe for it.
Nice.
And it's very simple. It's just lime juice and club soda and gin.
Oh, yeah, sounds pretty good.
Pretty easy.
I don't like club soda, but it sounds better than tonic.
But she likes the gin Rickeys.
I don't like gin either.
Robichaux is being tempted throughout the movie. There seems like there's like cold beer and booze and bottles of whiskey everywhere, always tempting him.
Yes, and he's got Terry Hatcher and Mary Stuart Masterson.
Yeah, and Bubba Rock asks him, like, that's right, you've been fighting that hooch.
Yeah, I feel like first movie where Eric Roberts went so crazy. This is one of his big scenes, and we haven't talked much about what he does. But I guess I can't remember many of his lines in retrospect. I just remember that I liked him.
Yeah. Well, they end the scene with a nice hug, and Bubba says, "Come here and give me a hug," and then they're getting ready to embrace, and then he pretends to like jab at him with some like there is some funny like Cajun guy sounds that come out of Eric Roberts throughout the movie. A lot of like hoo-hoo, like
It's
that
been
kind
kind
of
of
stuff.
a southern fried, chicken fried noir kind of movie, bayou movie. Reminded me of when I was watching the show Justified, and then the lead characters in that have kind of like they used to work together in a mine, and they have some old weird bond like Robichaux and Rock here,
Yeah.
and yeah, kind of reminded me. Just kind of give me just Elmore Leonard vibes in general, but it's really just this whole genre, you know.
Well, much like the Pope of Greenwich Village never lets you forget that it's a New York film, this movie never wastes an opportunity to remind you where it's set.
Except for the No Zydeco.
Yeah, well, there's tons of blues music
Oh, yeah,
playing in
yeah.
the bars,
Yeah.
really like raunchy kind of Cajun blues sounding stuff going on. But there's a lot of bars
Yes.
that Robichaux's in and out of. I think maybe one of the next scenes is he's either back in Smiling Jack's or somewhere else, but he keeps going deeper. We know that.
Yes, and he gets visited again probably by Vondi Curtis Hall in here, and he gets he starts getting threatened by two other gentlemen. One of them's the guy I said looked like Sid Haig to me.
He does go and meet revenge on ELK.
Oh,
Don Stark. Like he goes to Don Stark's bar, which is called the Jungle Room. It has a bunch of caged monkeys inside there, and he cracks them over the face with a pool cue. Robichaux continues to get in deeper. His wife is visited by the actor Hawthorne James, who
Is that
plays
the really
crime
scary
boss
black
Victor
dude?
Romero.
Oh.
And if you were to do an IMDb search on Hawthorne James, you would learn that his real name is James Hawthorne. How you like that?
Which guy was this in the movie? What's he look like?
Well, he's got dreadlocks. He's a real scary looking
Is he the
Creole
scary looking
guy.
like light skinned black dude?
Yes.
Yeah, that guy was cool looking.
He was another guy that as soon as I saw him, I was like, oh, yeah, I know this dude. And the only other thing that I could remember him from is he's one of the guys on the bus in Speed.
Oh, I had forgotten that. I pretty much thought he looked familiar, and then pretty much said, "Screwed, I don't know who this guy is."
Yeah, so Hawthorne James is Victor Romero.
I haven't seen Speed in like 25 years.
So this pisses off Robichaux's wife, and he catches all kinds of hell for this.
Yes.
And so she pretty much tells him that he needs to stop. He's not a detective anymore, so he needs to knock it off. And he has a little moment where he goes and does a little bit of meditating and ruminating and decides he needs to focus on his family. But what happens next, Roy?
What happens next, E.T.? Is this when they come to visit his family in the night?
Victor Romero and his friends pay Robichaux's house a visit during a
Yes.
thunderstorm.
And they've got shotguns.
They've got shotguns and they use them. And it just so happens that old Dave Robichaux was out trying to wrangle some boats in during the storm. And so he wasn't in the house as the men go in there with the shotguns and blow his wife away.
Yeah, they kill the hell out of her.
She gets killed real good. And, okay, so do you remember when Robichaux spots the guys going in the house, he has to swim across the bayou back up to the house. And it's one of the craziest dives I've ever seen into the water. But apparently, Eric Roberts tells a story about how he showed up on set early. Did you read this?
Oh, yes, I did read this. Go ahead.
And they were shooting this scene, and they were getting everything ready to go, and someone spotted an alligator's eyes in the water.
Yes.
And so they were going to hold, and Alec Baldwin was like, no, let's get the shot. And so they rolled cameras, and he dove in and swam across that pond with the alligator in it, and then jumped out and said, "Did we get it?" And I think Robert said something like, "I've never seen a guy with balls that big before."
I want to say that already in 1993 here, as far as like movie star matinee looks, we're already seeing, because it's 1996, but this was, I guess, supposed to be released in 94, 93, and Alec Baldwin was already kind of struggling with his weight for what we would consider, a handsome leading man by beauty standards of Glamour magazine.
Yeah, he's a wide-framed man.
Which he wasn't always, like if you look in the 80s. However, yeah, he's kind of already putting on some weight, and
yeah, just a thick boy.
he likes to eat. I identify with him.
Well, he likes to sweat in this movie, Heaven's Prisoners.
Yes, and dream of drinking.
Man, can you imagine being the sweat boy on this film? The perspiration boy?
Yeah.
He just has to spray people down constantly. But it's really distracting
Just
at times.
standing over him with a hose.
Man, I mean, there's scenes where Robichaux's like wearing a full suit, which is also funny to me. Like, he's so casual when he's like out on the bayou with his boat operation, but when he goes to do his own private investigating just for his own interest, he's always dressed up in a nice suit. But also his undershirts are always drenched in sweat.
Yeah, and people are less formal now. I don't know what they wear in the South, in business districts now, but in the olden times, or at least on TV, I guess, you do see that even in the 80s and 90s, people will wear suits in really hot cities in the day.
Yes.
And in the summer and stuff, and it always seems like madness, but I guess they have all those light fabrics, linens and things, and you'll see on Miami Vice a lot of times they'll look like they have an undershirt, or they'll look like they have a black t-shirt under their suit jacket, and they'll take it off and the shirt won't have any sleeves, and you're like, ooh, that's a lame look, but then you're like, oh, that's kind of maybe the most practical way to wear this impractical layering of clothing.
Yeah, it's true. So we're talking about the film Heaven's Perspiration.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
it's a sultry movie. It doesn't necessarily take place in a house, but it is kind of a hothouse movie. This is an erotic thriller, just like The Specialist in a way. It's an erotic noir in a way. Erotic detective noir. There's a lot of sexuality and nudity and come-ons.
Totally. And it really gets sexy after they kill Dave Robichaux's wife. Which
As
is a
things
pretty
often do after
melodramatic
your wife
scene.
is murdered.
Did you like the scene where Robichaux's talking to Baptiste, where he has gone like delusional?
Oh yes, that's one thing though. Yeah, like I was gonna say, Alec Baldwin, I didn't like his accent that much. I don't think this is one of his finest performances at all. But that being said, Alec Baldwin loves to use the expression "play the stakes" as an actor, and he always commits. Like it's like he commits to every scene hard. Like it's like he goes for it here.
Sure.
It's not he. It's like, I mean, it is weird, his voice in the beginning when he says the plane thing, and you're saying how he sounds like Seagal. I think him trying to do that New Orleans accent isn't in his normal voice range, and so if you don't tell him it doesn't sound real, he thinks, oh, I'm getting away with it. And he probably thought he was getting away with it, and he maybe saw it and was like, oh, I wasn't getting away with it, I hope. I don't know.
Yeah. I couldn't help but laugh a little bit when
Oh, yeah, it
the
was
wife
silly.
is just very dead, obviously dead and shot
Yes.
up, but he's like lost his mind at this point, and he's gonna try and go after these guys still. And he tells Batiste, he's like, you got to get her to the hospital.
Yes,
And he's
that's
like,
right.
And you might want to put a coat on her. She felt a little cold.
You're right. That's a LOL moment in the
Oh,
movie for
man.
sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you
So
might want to put a coat on. And Baptiste, he says something there, right? Like,
he's like, Dave, she already gone.
yes.
And that's when he starts to.
He has such a great voice.
We gotta get her to the hospital. I'm gonna jump in the boat. And I know where I can get him, but you better hurry up and get over there. With her right now, go as soon as you can.
Dave,
Make sure you put a coat on. Because you felt kind of cold to me.
and he already gone, Dave.
Yeah. Are you talking about Baptiste?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
He always has that voice that's just like, it's super deep and like filled with gravel.
Chico.
Yeah, he was good. I liked him. And so Batiste really has to step it up now at this point in the film because
Yes.
he starts to having to babysit the kid
You're right.
a little bit more because
Alopecia.
what's going to happen to Robichaux now that his wife is gone and that cold bottle of beer is calling his name?
Oh man, I don't want to even fathom.
Well, he drinks that bottle of beer, my friend, with relish. And then there was a crazy moment where he takes the boat out. This is after the funeral and stuff. So remember when he takes the boat out on the
Keep going.
to the
keep going.
swamp?
I'll
Well,
catch you.
he takes the boat out to grieve by himself with some beers and starts openly weeping while the boat
Yeah.
is just like spinning in circles on the water out in this swamp, and it's this really melodramatic.
This was the
scene.
part I thought you were referring to. I'd forgotten about the put a coat on her thing. I was thinking about him crying on the boat here. But you're
Yeah.
right, the put a coat on her thing was laugh out loud hilarious. And he's committing to it. It's terrible, though, the way that plays out. It plays out with such a brown.
Yeah.
This weeping thing coming after it doesn't help.
No. So it kind of his investigation kind of shifts into more of a revenge plot. where
This is
now
one of
he's
those movies
out
where
to
we
find-
never really invest in Kelly Lynch or that daughter, I don't think.
No. And the daughter kind of doesn't really do much throughout the rest of the movie. There's a few scenes. So what happens is he brings the stripper
Mary Stuart Masterson.
Robin, to come and live with them and help and stuff. So she's there. In the
I thought she was
house.
good in this movie. What'd you think?
Yeah, the first two scenes that she's in when she's drunk were kind of annoying to me. And then she's not drunk the rest of the film, which I kind of thought she would just be a drunken stripper throughout the whole thing. Like, there's never even a moment where she talks about how she doesn't want to drink anymore or anything like that, right?
I'll tell you, I thought she's kind of attractive in this movie. And they say what kind of woman look I like, but in other movies I've never found Mary Stuart Masterson particularly my type. But in this movie I thought she looked pretty good.
Yeah, maybe there was one film of hers in the 80s that I really liked her in when I was a kid. But yes, I did like her in this. And I guess that she had played Southern before and Fried Green
Fried
Tomatoes.
Green Tomatoes. And she would, I guess film it after this, but she was in Bad. She looks like she has a very wholesome Southern, Midwesty, Plainsy feel to her. But she was in, what was the movie I was trying to say? The name of, right?
Cornfed.
Bad Girls.
Yeah. Benny and June.
At
Some
Close
kind of-
Range. I haven't seen her in that many things. That was maybe all the movies I've seen her in. I was thinking about that in Heaven's Prisoners. She's really another person who I don't know from that many movies.
I think she really stuck out to me in oh, you know what it is the movie Chances Are.
I've never seen that.
Yeah, it's a reincarnation
Or even really,
film.
what is that?
Chances Are is Robert Downey Jr. plays a guy who's a reincarnation of
Oh.
Sybil Shepherd's dead husband.
Whoa, I don't remember that at all.
And it's a little bit of like the Back to the Future plot where the daughter is now in love with her dead father, who's reincarnated as Robert Downey Jr. And the daughter is played by Mary Stuart Masterson.
Wow. Just what an 80s plot that is.
Oh, yeah.
The high concept,
Spirit
sci-fi
Jam.
comedy,
Yeah.
body switch movies.
But yeah, I liked Mary Stuart Masterson in this, and she comes back and she's helping take care of the kid, and Robichaux starts tracking down these shotgun guys.
At what point does he go talk to Joe Vitarelli? Has that already happened?
Maybe so.
At some point he goes and talks to a mob boss, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And what is, I forget what's even discussed there. I've seen this movie a lot, and I'll tell you, not a lot, but I saw it once and then picked it for this episode, and I saw it again. Then I watched it again on YouTube, just kind of absently.
It is on YouTube for free if our listeners.
It's in full frame, and I would recommend if you can rent it. We'll talk about some of the marks of how we really felt about the movie later, I guess, but it may be one that's actually worth springing to see. And if you're a person that likes things to look nice, it might be worth seeking out it in Blu-ray, I think, or high def, just some kind of nice transfer streaming service. The YouTube free one I didn't think looked very good.
I would agree. It's a handsome film.
Yeah, at some point he goes to see an actor named Joe Vitarelli, who's another guy who you just kind of like, you know him, you feel like you know him from 1,000 movies.
Yeah,
and,
analyze this.
Yeah, says, and he's always an old goomba. I don't know if that's a racial slur. He's he's usually a gangster.
Yep.
Almost always a gangster. And he's a heavy-set guy. But I saw him
Pockmarked.
in a crazy thing, playing not against type necessarily, but a much different role in the same genre. And it was an episode, do you remember there was a TV show called Fallen Angels?
Yes.
It was 1990s Showtime show that was like Tales from the Crypt or Black Mirror or something, but each episode was based on an old noir short story, a pulp fiction kind of novel or short story usually. And the first episode was actually directed by Phil Chenow, and it's a good one called Dead End for Delia, starring Gary Oldman in black and white. But later in the first season, something happened in that show that has never happened again.
What's that?
One episode was directed by actor Tom Cruise, and it was called The Frightening Framus, based on a story by Jim Thompson.
Okay.
And in it, there's a kind of a mob hired old man doctor torturer guy. He's just some old guy that goes around with his case full of needles and stuff for dentistry or something like that. And he says that he doesn't, and he's going to do some crazy torturing on Peter Gallagher in it. And he's talking to him all calm and stuff. And he's like, I don't want to tell you. He's like, I don't actually enjoy my work. I'm saving up for a certain amount, then I'm going to get out. And Peter Gallagher's like what he's talking about, how he's about to torture him. And Peter Gallagher's, and he seems really reasonable. And Peter Gallagher's like, what are you saving up for? He's like, medical school. And he's an old fat guy, right? That's like doing hits for the mob. And you just realize in that moment that he's like just totally insane, and it makes him a trillion times scarier.
Whoa.
And I'll always remember, I only saw that the last couple of years, but yeah, he'll always stand out to me since then, because I was just like, that was a really cool scene.
Do you remember him from any Scorsese films?
Shoot, not offhand. He's in the other Phil Chenow, he's in State of Grace, but no, I don't remember him from any Scorsese's. Is he in any?
We'll have to do a little search on that.
I'm looking him up right now. No, I don't think he is.
Okay. Well, in this grieving revenge section of the film, Robichaux does meet up with Bubba Rock again.
So in this, he meets back up with Robichaux.
Yeah.
And what is discussed? I think my recording paused. I got a cup of coffee brewing and stewing.
Oh, nice. I got a cold beer.
Nice. I should have gotten a booze. Let me look.
That beer tastes pretty good, brother.
I'm going to get my coffee out. It's about to be done brewing. Bubba Rocket? Or did we already do that?
So in this section of the film, the grieving revenge... Yeah. So in this section of the film where Robichaux is grieving and trying to seek revenge on the men who shot his wife up, he pays another visit to Bubba Rock.
Yes.
And it's a little more tense than the first time they meet in the film. Yeah,
is this the part where Mary Stuart Masterson and Terry Hatcher encounter each other outside? No.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
We should add, there are a few encounters between Robichaux and Claudette Rock.
Oh, you're right.
Where she is trying to seduce him in various scenes, and Bubba's nowhere to be found.
Yes. Yeah, she and Mary Stuart Masterson, this is where things really start to get confusing and jumbled, right? Go ahead and, so Terry Hatcher and Mary Stuart Masterson are both kind of hitting on Alec Baldwin, or Mary Stuart Masterson's coming into the life, and Terry Hatcher's just running into him places and kind of flirting with him, and he's really resisting her hard, and she's really coming on to him. And there's a part where Mary Stuart Masterson and she encounter each other, and and they kind of have a cat fight thing that's pretty good, where Terry Hatcher says that she recognizes, or no, it's like Mary Stuart Masterson said that this chick came by looking to hire her for a party. She remembers Claudette coming by to hire her as a hooker or a stripper or something for a party, and Claudette says she wouldn't be seen with any, she wouldn't do that or something like that. And then Mary Stuart Masterson says that, well, this lady was real trashy. She had a butterfly tattoo on her abdomen, and
Yeah, that was a really nice own.
So they all know that it was her.
And we do see the butterfly.
Because he's seen her naked.
Oh, he knows. And then she also tries to get him to touch her breast in the pickup truck.
You ever just see somebody naked like that out on a veranda?
Me?
Mm-hmm.
No, not that I remember.
I remember one time I came home and like a roommate was dating a guy, and it's like, not dating a guy, I mean, not that that's crazy in any way. I've had roommates that date guys. But he was dating a girl, and she was in the backyard sunning topless, like when I came home.
Oh.
I was like, oh.
I once saw a naked man walking alongside the highway with a lot of cops running behind him on foot.
I saw a homeless man on Sunset Boulevard whip it out and just start peeing into open traffic at like 3 p.m. Broad daylight, like waving his dick back and forth. He didn't get in any kind of trouble. I was going to try to take a picture or video, but I was already so close to him when he started doing it. I was afraid that, I was more like, I better just steer clear of this, worry about that, A, picture, B.
God,
Didn't get the video.
Wanted to urinate onto oncoming traffic my whole life.
I saw a good load of that man's genitals.
Well, this scene between Robichaux and Rock ends with Robichaux telling him something to the effect of, "If I find out you're connected to these men who shot up my wife, I'm coming back for you, Bubba." Something like that. So yeah, so the case continues. Then there's this, okay, so Robichaux tries to track down these guys. He finds one of them. He actually finds the shotgun in the guy's apartment, and then this whole crazy like foot chase street fight ensues that ends up on a trolley car through New Orleans, which is like this crazy action set piece.
Yes.
Which ends with the guy what happens? He gets hit by a car and dies?
Can't really remember. This is the whole all apart that muddles together.
Yeah.
The big thing I remember in this isn't even him hanging out with Rock and then things getting escalating. It's really, we may not be there yet, but the long scene with Curtis Von D. Hall in that house around that tub, where they're reacting to that tub murder.
Oh, yes. But I don't think that's him. I think that's a cop.
No, it's Von D. Curtis Hall.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
Well, he sees him at a bar as well. Now we're starting to get into the deep muddle. But
Yes.
somewhere in the grieving, Robichaux is super drunk at a bar. Maybe it's at the jungle room. And Terry Hatcher's character comes in.
Jack.
Terry Hatcher's character comes in with these two big, huge bodyguard type guys.
Oh,
And
yes.
Robichaux mouths off to them and just gets pummeled. But he gets saved by Von D. Curtis Hall, who draws his gun on the guys, and he sets them all down and is trying to, I don't know, I think once again, tell Robichaux to stop, I don't know, snooping around. I can't remember that now.
What did you think of Von D. Curtis Hall in the movie?
I thought he was fine.
I agree.
Yeah.
Not, I don't know. I mean, I could imagine him being better and worse. He doesn't lose me, but he's not really doing much for me.
He would. I thought he would make a great Joker. He's got a crazy Joker mouth.
Yeah, I want to talk about him a little more, actually, when we get done with the plot. But at any rate. Not about him looking like the Joker. I didn't notice that. He does have a very distinctive look. Like, you can always, like, he's very memorable looking.
We have to remember that Robichaux this whole time is trying, even more than Bubba Rock, he's trying to get to Victor Romero.
Oh, yes, the man who killed his wife.
The man who was
That's
there
right.
that night with other people.
With Sid Haig looking guy.
And so Victor Romero calls his house and threatens him.
Oh, yeah.
And tells him that if he... Robichaux gets told not to be snooping around quite a bit in this film. I mean, it's pretty much every other scene is him being told to...
He friggin' lives to snoop.
Yeah, he loves it.
Meddling is this guy's modus operandi.
Bidness. So anyway...
Raison d'etre. Raison... I don't know how to speak French. Raison d'etre.
Yeah, raison d'etre.
D'etre. Raison d'etre.
Delta. Delta?
D'etre. I don't know.
Well, eventually
Sorry,
they meet up.
French film fans.
I can't... Now, this is where you got to help me out. So he kills off what? There's the guy in the tub, which Robichaux was not responsible for.
Yeah,
He was
I don't
one
know
of the
which guy gets
shotgun
killed in
killers.
the top. Okay, was it the Sid Haig looking guy, or was it some other guy?
I don't even know who Sid Haig is.
He's He's the guy from those Rob Zombie.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's the guy that looks like if Vern Troyer was
70,
normal
80.
stature.
Yeah, he's a strange. He's an imposing looking guy. I think he passed away recently. But yeah, he has a gnarly look. He plays like a good biker or something in the movies.
Yeah, he plays a good like desert mutant type guy.
Yeah. But this guy looked like him to me, and I had to be convinced by IMDb that it wasn't him.
Well, ultimately, there's a showdown between Robichaux and Victor Romero.
But in this tub scene, I wanted to point out that it was memorable to me because this is just a textbook scene of like something that happens a lot in this movie, all through this movie. One of the things that I liked about the movie the most, and I think that made it really watchable, was just the cinematography and the costume design and the production design, the locations and things, and the dressing. All of it was in such a perfect concert in doing all pastel colors with the greens and then having some reds pop out once in a while, but mostly just all pastels. And this scene with all the different gray walls and things is a real study. If you're making a cheap student film or something, take a look at this scene in the tub thing and think about all the texture and just fun colors of the walls and how easy all those pastels are to look at. It reminded me of Miami Vice in that way. Even I believe it's Alec Baldwin's has that red truck, yes, and it's that pastel red truck. And it's just it's a gorgeous movie to look at. The whole entire production. I would describe this as a slick movie like last week's The Specialist, and The Specialist had really cool cinematography, but this movie is just like really well made as far as the production elements of this movie are very nice and nice to look at.
That's a really good observation, Roy, about the colors.
Like this movie has several just cool, delicious grays that are just nice to look at.
The movie's very creamy visually. Something about the film stock they shot on. It was shot by Harris Savides.
Yes, it's. I think it's just to get great exposures, and all the colors, are just perfectly in concert for this cold color scheme movie with pastels and cold colors, and it's really just nice to like just sit back and turn your it's a turn your brain off and just relax movie, and that's what I liked about it. It wasn't a great movie in this genre, but and that's the cinematography. I think it was a large portion of that. Savides died young. I looked at his IMDb after this, and I'll look it up again right now since we're on the subject. Where's my boy Savides? But he passed away pretty young.
Yes.
And this might be one of the first
39?
movies he did as a cinematographer. Harris Savides. There we go. Yeah, he looks like he did some REM video. He and Jeannot both came from music videos. Jeannot did a lot of U2 videos, and the infamous, which I watched for this movie podcast, for research, I watched Rattle and Hum.
I watched the music video for One by U2.
Wow. I envy, we should have switched assignments on that.
How was Rattle and Hum?
I would describe it as only for U2 diehards.
Now,
For everyone else, you'll just want to... I had a thought watching it that it really says a lot about the other guys in U2's personalities, that there aren't just a bunch of solo Bono albums, because you could just imagine him wanting to make music and any normal people in the world being like, we're good on hanging out with you for 10 years. We got enough money right now, bro, and yeah, maybe we'll do a short tour in like 6 years. See you later.
Yeah.
That's never happened. I know one guy calls himself The Edge, and that can't be too easy to deal with either. The other two guys, I guess they had that one song together as the rhythm doing the Mission Impossible theme. That was pretty good. The U2 has several songs I enjoy over time. I don't want to be a huge hater, but I'm not a massive fan. But yeah, they just seemed intolerable in this movie, and it's a bad movie. But if you want to see, if you're a big U2 fan, you'll probably enjoy it though.
I think I've seen portions of it, and I was going to ask. I definitely remember scenes, unless it's from a different thing, of U2 in the South. Definitely in Memphis.
Yes, that's a big part of the movie, actually. Yes, you're right. That's a big thing, is they tour America, and they, maybe not even just America, it's like their world tour, but a lot of the portions of it seem to be, or a big part of it, they go to Memphis, they go to Elvis's house, or rather Graceland or whatever, and then they hang out with B.B. King and do a song. But before that, I think maybe in New York or somewhere else, they
How about New
hang
Orleans?
out with, they might go to New Orleans. I can't remember. They sit on the banks of the Mississippi.
Yeah.
I cannot recall if they go to they probably do. I know they go to Sun Devil Stadium in Phoenix, Arizona.
Oh. Well, I'd like to wrap up the plot,
Yes, please.
if we could. Basically...
Oh, but wait, I wanted to say a little bit of Harris Savides real fast. Just throw out, like, he really did get to work with a lot of the top directors in his short life. He had Sofia Coppola multiple times, Noah Baumbach. He did
Gus Van Sant,
who I always think makes a nice looking movie. He did that short with Scorsese. He worked with Ridley Scott on American Gangster, which is a movie I enjoyed much more the second time. He shot Zodiac, which, say what you will, I mean, I like the movie, but it's also just kind of groundbreaking, if not, I don't think, actually gorgeous. But it's just personal opinion. But yeah, he also did James Gray's The Yards. David Fincher, The Game. It's like he really worked in, starting with Heaven's Prisoners, you can see that he at least made his time count and working on top films, or working with top filmmakers who are interested in cinema.
Yeah, he always seemed to me like he was a student of Gordon, the Godfather cinematographer.
Gordon Willis?
Yeah, I felt the
Interesting.
connection between those two. A lot of I don't know, they liked low light and stuff like that. Soft light, low light. Maybe not. Gordon Willis was maybe more of a contrast guy. Harris Savides is very kind of a low contrast cinematographer. But I don't know. I shouldn't be talking about cinematography. It's not my specialty.
I have no idea.
I don't either.
I did find this movie very pleasant to look at, in a non-pretentious way. I mean, I think people were annoyed in this day because of all the various Southern noir, Gothic kind of stuff that was coming out at the theaters in the 90s and 80s and 70s. They were kind of over this, but there's nothing in this movie now that feels pretentious, but it is gorgeous. Those elements made the movie very watchable.
Absolutely.
It moves along. Things move. The editing is fast-paced.
Well, there's a lot of money up on the screen. The movie had a $25 million budget.
Wow.
Yeah, which is a big wow.
Yeah, for that kind of movie, that's a wow. This is from like the prime. Okay, go back to the plot. I'm sorry. We'll get back to this.
Well, wrapping the plot up, basically, Robichaux has his big showdown with Victor Romero and ends up killing him with a shotgun, which is poetic.
I love shotgun violence in the movies.
A lot of shotgun violence in 90s films.
Oh yeah, the 80s too. All yeah. A guy running with a shotgun is one of the cool. A man running or walking purposefully with a shotgun is one of the best things you can show in a movie.
Yeah, Evil Dead, the Professional,
The Untouchables.
Oh yeah.
Homicide by David Mann, when they're going over those roofs with the shotguns, and Tombstone, The Wild Bunch.
Yeah, so Robichaux gets Romero, and then pays one last visit to Bubba Rock's estate late at night. And he doesn't find Bubba at the house at first. He finds Claudette and has a moment with her where, and I think we already knew this because there's a scene actually with Joe, was it Vitarelli?
Yes.
There's a scene between Terry Hatcher and Joe Vitarelli where you and maybe Bubba's there now that I think about it. But you start to kind of feel like she's the one who's calling the shots here. And so...
Yes. And it turns out she is the villain. But how did he find that out? This is the one thing everybody loves to point this out about the movie, so we should do it too for people that don't. So if you don't want to watch other Robert's podcasts or read other reviews of Heaven's Prisoners, everybody likes to point out that the way he figures out that it's Terry Hatcher that's behind everything is by finding her gin Ricky residue, condensation residue on a napkin or something, like in a ring, and he tastes it and figures out it's a gin Ricky.
Yeah, it looks crazy. It looks like hair gel with like rock salt in it.
Yes, but everybody likes to say condensation and stuff has no flavor. It would just be water.
But
do you feel like maybe? See, yeah, I agree. I think go. Tell me what your give me your thing, because I think I might agree with you.
I know exactly what you're referencing because I read. Well, you're probably referencing one or two reviews or more that you read. But I read the Ebert review where he brought this up.
Yeah, it's in there. It's in there for sure. I read that one.
And I just felt like he wasn't paying attention because she's drinking it from the... She has like the thermos of it.
Good call, ED.
Yeah, so Ebert was in the wrong there.
To explain why, again, just in case.
Well, Ebert is trying to say that the ring that Alec Baldwin finds that leads him to her is from condensation that's bleeding out of the thermos or the shaker.
That's also in the other Eric Roberts podcast. Yeah, they point this out in that too, to make big fun of it.
Well, I just feel like she sloshed some and it got on the side of the glass, and to me it's not unbelievable. To me,
I agree with her. I don't remember how she was drinking it. I don't remember her drinking it. I do remember thinking when I was watching it, well, there's no reason that can't just be spillage, that the glass was pooled in.
I just had assumed it was spillage and didn't even think twice about it.
Same. I really think that, yeah, maybe people are giving too hard. Yeah.
But that's how he finds her.
Yes.
But it's not Baldwin who ends up taking her out.
No, it's not. It's the hero of the movie, the real hero.
It's the real hero, Eric Roberts.
Bubba Rock.
He blows her away.
Yeah, this is a really satisfying thing for this podcast in a way, because as a host of it, because you start to...
Because it's two woman haters. There's nothing that we love more than to see.
No, it's just really like, Eric Roberts got a comeuppance, or he gave a comeuppance to someone else, which I don't think we're instead of getting one in this movie.
Yeah, that is kind of his thing. We did, actually, we forgot a scene.
Okay, please.
Where Bubba... He's kind of... Okay, Bubba shows up at a bar and finds Robichaux and asks him if he's been sleeping with his wife.
Oh, yes,
and there's a nice fist fight between those two.
Yeah.
It kind of ends like... it's a nice bro...
we have classic Potiphar's wife set up.
The scene ends kind of friendly. It's funny the way it ends, where they're both bloodied up and Bubba Rock orders a shot of tequila. Do you remember the type of tequila he orders?
No, but is it that same kind that Sylvester Stallone had from Michael Douglas on?
No,
I'm just kidding you. I'm a specialist.
I can't remember what it is, but anyway, maybe it's something simple. But he's like, he slaps his hand on the bar, or he's like, Cuervo Gold. He like takes the shot, and then like the lime or whatever in the shot. I don't know. His lip is busted, so it like burns his lip. And there's some more classic teeth sucking.
His name's Bubba Rock. You and I had a friend when we were in high school named Groyd Brathis. even more your friend by far than mine, but I consider him a friend as well.
Fond memories of old Royd.
And we were seniors in high school. We had to put on a little play, and we put on Shirley Jackson's The Lottery. And Croyd Blathis is kind of, he's a good old boy and didn't always pay attention to things in class. He didn't have much use for fancy book learning. He mostly looked at school as a waste of his day. Yeah, he looked at school as a place to socialize and pretty much have some fun, try to get through like a lot of people. But he didn't pick up much along the way, I don't think, in some classes. But he was delightful. He's a great guy. Yeah. He is a great guy. However, remember he played a character that I would think, we did Shirley Jackson's The Lottery in this group, and he played a character I would pronounce Delacroix, and he called him Delarox. And then none of us wanted to correct him. We just let him roll with it throughout the entire production. We just called the character Delarox.
Yeah. Oh man, I forgot all about that.
Could you do an impression of him still? He had a very memorable voice.
Oh, Delarox.
Yeah, really, I don't know.
I can't do
He had kind of a high pitched thing, like a kind of like Scooby-Doo.
He was more of a Cajun man.
He did have kind of he had a more melodic voice than most of the monotone people in Oklahoma. Ooh. Yeah, there's a flutter in there sometimes. Sorry. So, yeah, Bubba Rock blows her away.
Yes, Claudette meets her end.
Then he gets busted.
Yeah, Robichaux calls it in like a good cop.
Yeah.
And goes home to his daughter, his adopted Salvadoran daughter. You say
Alopecia.
Salvadorian?
That's what I would call it.
But
Salvadorian.
The stripper Robin is gone. She's left a goodbye note. So.
Oh wow! What did she say?
I forget what she says. Do you remember?
Don't believe anything I say, or something like that.
I'm sick of your drinking ass.
That's what Sharon Stone said in the other movie.
Yeah, never trust a woman.
Never trust a woman.
And that's it. I mean, that's the movie. He kills the people that killed his wife. We wrap it up. There was a guy in the credits. I forgot what his job was in the film, but I saw there was a man named Mo Flam, but he spelled Mo just M-O. Maybe it was a woman. Maureen Flam, I don't know. Then Flam was F-L-A-M-M, and it's just like you're asking for more Flam, like Mo Flam. I'd like to imagine it was a lady.
Yeah, like Mo Tucker is what. When I just saw this as the M-O, I was like, oh, that might be a lady because of Maureen Tucker.
Yeah, based Mo Tucker. Well, closing thoughts on...
I've got several, I guess. So first off, this was a terrible, terrible flop in 1996. It was released in June. Do you remember this movie coming out?
No, I have no memory. June of 1996.
Time out for 1 minute. I'm gonna have to come out. I'm gonna have to pee real fast.
Okay. Roy, do you have any closing thoughts on Heaven's Prisoners?
ED, I have several thoughts.
I
First
thought
off,
you might have.
This movie was released in June of 1996. Do you remember it coming out? Do you remember feelings about it coming out?
No. It passed right by my view.
I remember not being a huge Alec Baldwin fan in this moment because maybe looking at this run of movies he has after Hunt for Red October, and I guess people like Miami Blues, but a lot of the leading man movies he has are not some of the finest of all the films you'll remember in history. For example, he's got The Juror, Two Bits, The Shadow, The Getaway remake, Malice, Prelude to a Kiss, The Marrying Man. That's it in that range.
So which year did The Shadow come out? 94?
Yes, I believe, as memory serves. Yes, here it is. It is 1994. So in theory, he's perfect for that part. Like, he's the perfect Batman. He's like American rich guy with brown hair. Looks like he's had a soft life, but has a deep voice.
Yeah.
But, yeah, The Shadow is terrible. Not terrible, it's watchable.
Well, the movie was released alongside Twister and Mission Impossible And they're
How do you
really
feel about
summer.
what's your rating of those? In which order would you rate those?
Mission Impossible would be the first, and I would rate Heaven's Prisoners above Twister.
I got to agree with that. Twister's the only one of those I give a thumbs down. However, this movie was a massive, massive flop. And
Yes.
that leads me to a couple of points. One is, I think that this is a thumbs down slightly movie if you pay to see it at the theater, unless you're on a date
Yeah.
or old. It's the plot doesn't wrap up well. It's nothing really you haven't seen before in other movies. It's a really a movie that's good for if it's on TV or on video. It's a great renter, or just if it comes on TV and you don't want to see anything mind blowing, right? I found
That
it
is
entertaining.
correct.
I give the movie a thumbs up, but it's a thumbs up under the circumstances I saw it. And I think it would have held up in the 90s too if I would have seen it on TV. But yeah, if I paid theater money to see this, I think it is a thumbs down movie.
Did you see
Just
who
slightly.
won?
It's a mediocre film either way.
Did you see who won a Golden Raspberry nomination?
No. Roberts?
I would say, sorry, earned a Golden Raspberry nomination, not won.
Was it Roberts?
It was Terry Hatcher
Oh.
for Worst Supporting Actress, which is pretty harsh. I thought she was
Pretty
fine.
harsh indeed. I didn't think she was very good in the movie, but I also didn't think she was terrible. I'm always struck by I do find her very, very pretty, and so it's like somebody that maybe I'm already inclined to like.
Yeah, I would.
I don't
I
know.
guess she did the Bond film shortly after this, a year or two after.
Oh yes, and they didn't like her much in that. And then she was already big from something else, so it was something to take her down for having a flop. And I guess
She had been,
Yeah.
if I remember right, she was in an episode of Seinfeld.
yes, they're real and they're spectacular.
There you go. Yeah, and the Lois and Clark Superman TV
Well,
series.
I watched a side movie of research for this of Terry Hatcher, known as The Cool Surface, which was released, I believe, in 1994, and stars Robert Patrick and her.
Whoa.
And it's kind of a hothouse movie thriller about a screenwriter, a struggling screenwriter in L.A. And the guy who plays Lloyd Braun on Seinfeld is Robert Patrick's agent. But however, this movie I wanted to watch because when we were kids, it always would come on Skinamax. But it was in the days before, like at midnight and stuff, if this movie, The Cool Surface, would come on. And it was before I had a television in my room. And I would be watching in the living room, just flipping past, and I would hope to catch nudity of this movie, The Cool Surface. And I never would. I would just see lots of Robert Patrick with goofy hair brooding.
Yeah, I have
Seeing
no
it now,
memory of the Cool Surface.
it's a very, very terrible movie. Kind of funny bad. Not much nudity in it. Terry Hatcher there's another guy who's pretty good. Robert Patrick's very bad in it, and it's not a good movie.
Damn. So not much nudity, not a very good film.
So I think
So it should have been called The Cool Worthless.
Not just the stacked schedule, but I think just like no faith in another Alec Baldwin action movie, and this movie had bad press. You knew it was a movie that had been released, that got brought up or hadn't been released. It got brought up in reviews. And there were a few, I remember another movie like that came out later around the same period. It was a movie called Shadow Conspiracy with Charlie Sheen. We're like, oh, this movie sat on the shelf for a couple of years. Boy, it stinks. And that was kind of the same reception Heaven's Prisoners got. And I guess what happened is it was made by that Savoy company, and they went under, and the rights of this bounced around. But on the other, and so it really wasn't just on the surface. It looks like it wasn't, not due to it stinking. But I guess if it had been excellent, that somebody would have been more hyped to get around to putting it out and, pushing all that through. People would have been hardcore about it, probably.
Can you think of
Give it money.
any film that sat on the shelf for a good period of time and ended up being good?
Yes.
Okay.
There is a movie called Phil Spector, which I watched last night, based on the trial of
R.I.P.
a man who
Phil.
died yesterday. Yes, the Podfather himself, our patron saint, Phil Spector. He passed away, and so I watched David Mamet's film of Phil Spector, which I believe was shot in like 2011 or 12, and it didn't come on HBO till 2014. I think it was supposed to come out maybe in 2012, and didn't come out on it until HBO put it out in 2014. And rewatching it last night, I think it's an excellent movie. But I thought it was an awesome, awesome movie. Great Pacino performance as Phil Spector. Great script. Just a good movie.
I'm gonna watch that soon.
It's on HBO Max, of course. If you're looking for it on streaming, it's free on HBO Max, which of course means you have to pay for HBO Max.
Well, I would say of the Eric Roberts movies that we've seen for the pod, this is my favorite performance of his.
It was not only my favorite performance, and I picked it because I felt like we needed maybe one that I enjoyed, or we might enjoy the movie for a change. Like I did like this movie. I liked it less the second time. I think it was because I'd seen it so recently. If I'd waited longer, I would have liked it more. But yeah, I think this was my favorite Eric Roberts performance. Oh, I wanted to bring up there was another David Robicheaux movie.
That's right, The Electric Mist.
In the Electric Mist, based on a based on a later Robicheaux novel called In the Electric Mist of the Confederate Dead.
Which you have seen and I have not.
Yes, I watched it for the second time last night, and that's similar to Heaven's Prisoners. It's a forgettable movie, but it's actually a way better movie than Heaven's Prisoners. Like, for the time it's going, it's filled with wonderful dialogue and great acting and great actors. Like, Tommy Lee Jones beats the shit out of Alec Baldwin as David Robicheaux, and then you get like John Goodman as the villain and things like that. It's a good, really great cast, and I believe he's selling the boats, and it's kind of strange. He's back to being a cop, even though he's old. He's an old man, but he's a cop again, and he's married again to Mary Steenburgen. I think they own the boat thing, and he's post-alcoholism. There's a part where he trips acid. Somebody slips him acid in it, and old man Tommy Lee Jones trips out.
Oh, man.
Levon Helm plays the ghost of the Confederate dead in it.
Right.
And guitarist Buddy Guy was in it. There were a lot of people, but it was a superior film to Heaven's Prisoners, but similarly one that's kind of forgettable and just kind of a fun while it goes. A very similar film, but not sexy like this one. This movie was much more hyped up the sexuality. That one was more like, it was a mature movie for older people who like to see a good talking noir, and it was a good one.
Well, Eric Roberts was in a lot of things in 1996 that came out in 1996.
Wow.
I guess I should say.
What all did he have?
Among them would be Past Perfect, The Glass Cage, The Cable Guy as Eric Roberts.
Oh, yes, I remember that one.
A film called American Strays.
Which I would be curious to watch that one ahead of some others.
Power 98.
Wow, no recollection.
The Grave.
I think that's another one you would see the title of. That one and American Strays were ones I think would come on cable quite a bit.
The Grave.
Don't know
My
that.
Party.
Oh yes, that's the one where maybe he's has AIDS or some such.
Oh, I don't know about that one. Yeah, this was a heavy year for him. He was in a lot of different productions. And
Well, what about his sister? How many was she in?
Julia.
I believe she was only in Mary Riley, but maybe I'm wrong, which barely outperformed Heaven's Prisoners at the box office.
Oh, yikes. Mary Riley from 1996. Michael Collins.
Oh, I forgot about Michael Collins.
Everyone Says I Love
flick.
You.
Oh, yes, which is, I don't like seeing that, but that's a decent Woody Allen movie.
So, yeah, those 4 films, or 3
Oh,
films.
yeah, my bad. I was way off. Have you seen Mary Riley?
No, I haven't.
I can't remember if I have or not. I have it here now, and I didn't get to watching it. I did get to watching something else, though. Released not quite a year after, well, not more like 6 months after Heaven's Prisoners, was the featured film directorial debut of Vondie Curtis Hall.
Okay.
Which was the movie Bullet. Not Bullet, I lied to you. The movie Gridlocked with Tim Roth and Tupac Shakur.
Oh,
or rather,
wow.
Tupac Shakur and Tim Roth.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen that?
No.
I never had either. And I watched it the other day, and it's far from perfect, but I really enjoyed it.
Wow. Wow, Vonnie Curtis Hall.
It had a lot of, it was kind of like a Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, but it was two cokeheads trying to get clean and encountering lots of bureaucracy in New York, in Detroit, and Tandy Newton plays their kind of, she's more Tupac Shakur's girlfriend, but you kind of maybe get the feeling she was boning them both at some point, and Tim Roth can't get it up anymore or something, and she ODs, and they take her to like the emergency room. Then they decide, or Tupac decides he's going to get clean for New Year's, and Tim Roth decides to go along with him.
Yeah.
And Tim Roth does steal the movie, but there are a lot of good things in the movie. Tupac's a little uneven, but it's exactly like what I said with Alec Baldwin in the accent. Tupac in this is a guy who I haven't seen Poetic Justice, but hadn't had that big of a role in a movie where he had to do so much. And he's playing against his like hard type. He plays more of an earnest, sweet guy that's like acid jazz musician and is a big time coke fiend. I thought overall he was pretty good. There are a lot of moments where he's not good, but overall the idea of his performance and he's charismatic, and Tim Roth is a lot of fun doing a manic Tim Roth thing, and then it goes around and kind of the movie's kind of generally kind of upbeat for being so downbeat. It does feel like watching a play. It's kind of comedic and has formulaic in a way. I don't know. I don't want to go on forever, but I really liked it. Just as far as it was better than Heaven's Prisoners. And he also directed Glitter, which I didn't watch.
Oh, the Mariah Carey film. I didn't know he had a career as a director.
I think he's done a lot of directing.
I applaud you on your research, Roy.
Well, I knew he did Glitter going in, but I did not recall that he did Gridlocked. I feel like Gridlocked's one of those movies that people constantly pass by in that era at the video store because they see Tim Roth and they want to see the Tim Roth movie, that's like Pulp Fiction, or they'll see Tupac and they want to see a gangster movie. But they've already, because people were so tuned in the 90s, and they kind of promoted Gridlocked as what it was. You know, they didn't lie to you about what Gridlocked was. And so people already knew it wasn't either of those movies. And so they're just like, I don't really want to see a movie about guys on drugs trying to kick drugs. Yeah. And the movie, surprisingly, is kind of just an entertaining movie. Cool. I enjoyed it. And it was one of those movies when actors cast interesting cast, and Vonnie Curtis Hall cast a lot of actors that you don't see a lot of and stuff, and interesting, in little parts, and a lot of fresh actors and are getting to do something different.
Right.
And it was pretty funny. There's a crooked cop that's all supposed to be all like Mr. Big and scary in the movie, and the first time you don't see him, you just kind of see his hand come out a window. And as soon as the hand comes out the window and the guy starts talking, I was like, I guarantee that's Vonnie Curtis Hall, because I don't remember anybody else super famous in this, and only Vonnie Curtis Hall would think Vonnie Curtis Hall was worth hiding, like he would be a reveal. Like, who would reveal Vonnie Curtis Hall to be the big leader and be like, oh no, it's Marlon Brando. No, it's Vonnie Curtis Hall. Nobody cares about him. He has zero gravitas in the part, but he's fine as an actor in the part. But just in Raging Harlem, that part is Danny Glover, who everybody knows Danny Glover.
Well, I don't really have much else to add about Heaven's Prisoners. I enjoyed it. It's a great late night home video watch. It's nice to look at. It moves at a nice clip.
Oh, I wanted to ask you. One of the producers of the film was a man named Gray Fredrickson.
I did see that.
What is your connection to that man?
Well, he had some connections at the Oklahoma City Community College film production program. So I'd taken some classes that he had lectured in on, and I guess Gray is kind of I'm not sure if he's an Okie, but he's definitely, maybe he is an Okie.
I don't know.
I don't remember, but we know Gray Fredrickson produced The Godfather.
Yes.
And
what's the one he always likes to tell you about?
What's that?
Didn't he always, Children of the Corn?
Oh, that's right. So, yes, he produced the Children of the Corn, and the director of Children of the Corn was the big film professor hotshot up there at the OKCCC. Man by the name of Fritz Kirsch.
Yeah, yes.
I think that's his name.
Did you look at the box office for 1996?
No, I would say.
People, you wonder when the big Americans are dumb stereotype came about.
Yeah.
The top 10 Box office for 1996 probably caused 9/11 with its ripples. Let's see here. Number one, it's if you just think about how like the overall brain level of this top 10. Independence Day, Twister, Mission Impossible, The Rock, The Nutty Professor, Ransom, The Birdcage, A Time to Kill, 101 Dalmatians, The First Wives Club.
Yeah, this is like peak 90s product film.
Yes.
Like the peak of commercialism.
I do love
movies.
Mission Impossible. Not all of those movies were bad per se. But then you look like that was the year also that everybody complained. That was one of the first that nobody watched the Best Picture nominees except for Jerry Maguire, which is number 18 on the year in box office. So I guess really, what's his face? Eric Roberts had a good year because Cable Guy was 19. See, but at any rate, yeah, you look at the list of movies this year. It's not a bad list of movie years. Nobody went and saw the good movies for the most part. It's a movie where the bad movies performed much better than the good ones overall. It seems not in every case. For example, so, 12 Monkeys made was a hit. You could see a world where that movie is not a hit, right?
Yeah.
That's like an unloved classic. But no, people paid to see 12 Monkeys in 1996. So
Interesting.
Independence Day, The Rock, man. A lot of people love The Rock. I think I may have mentioned this last episode. I don't like The Rock.
I'm not a big rock fan. I think 96, 97 were kind of lull years for the 90s indie boom. But then by the time you get into I don't know, maybe 97 through 99 were really strong. But it seems like after Pulp Fiction, there was a bit of a bubble burst, unless I'm mistaken. I mean, there was Sling Blade. When did that come out? 96, 95?
This might be the same period. I can't remember.
Yeah, there's some big indie things, but yeah, I don't know. Those aren't very strong movie years in my memory, at least. Mission Impossible was like a favorite when I was that age. So.
Oh yeah, did you go see that at the theater?
Yes, sir.
What'd you think of it at the time in its moment?
Oh, totally satisfied by it.
Went and saw it with my dad and my brother. Loved it. If you haven't seen it, here's a spoiler. Emilio Estevez is murdered unceremoniously within the first 5 minutes of the movie, or 10, 15 minutes of the movie. First 20 minutes of the movie, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And my dad just hates anything young and rebellious, and that was to him one of the greatest cinema moments.
Oh, yeah. Well, join us next time when, I don't know, maybe we should talk about the final analysis. I'm down. All right. Have a nice day, everyone.